Cell referencing in Excel formulas. Every formula starts with equal sign. For example, I'm going to write a formula and multiply every number in column B by 100. I can reference the first cell and then multiply by 100 and enter. My reference is a relative reference, so if I copy this formula down in the column, that relative reference will change and will address every cell in the same row in column B. So I will go to the lower right corner, use the fill handle, click, and drag down. The formula is copied. Now every cell here is multiplication of one cell in column B by 100. Typing numbers and formulas is not a good practice, so I can have 100 typed in one cell and reference it. So I can say my value equals to the first cell in column B multiplied by 100. I'm referencing cells. If I copy this formula down, since O1 is a relative reference, then that reference will move also. To keep that cell fixed in the formula, I have to make it an absolute reference. While the cell is selected, if I press function key F4, you see the dollar signs before the column reference and before the row reference. This is now an absolute reference. So I finish the formula by pressing enter, and now selecting this formula, grabbing the lower right corner, the fill handle, and copying it. All these formulas have a relative reference to a cell in column B and an absolute reference to cell O1. We may also have mixed reference. For example, in this table, we have different prices from $98 up to $120, and then units sold. We're going to simulate the results. Using mixed reference, we need to enter our formula in one cell and copy it to the entire table. The first column, the reference prices. If we reference the first cell and copy the formula to the row and column, the column should not change. The column should be fixed, but the row should change. Numbers on top row, units sold. If you copy the formula referencing these cells, the row should not change, should always address the top row, but the column reference should change. So I start my formula by clicking on the first price, pressing F4 for the first time, make absolute reference for column and row. For the second time, it's an absolute reference for row but not the column. For the third time, pressing F4. Now the column is fixed, absolute reference, but not the row. The row can change. Multiply by my reference to the first number on top row. When I press F4 while this cell is selected, it's an absolute reference for column and row. For the second time, the column is relative now. There's no dollar sign before that, but the row reference has a dollar sign, so it's fixed. We call these references mixed reference because they're referencing the column or row as relative reference and the other one as absolute. Press enter, Now grab the lower right corner fill handle, copy to the row, and while the row is selected, double click, and then the entire table is filled. Each one of these cells are addressing the right cells. The formula is at the intersection of the row and column and is calculating the right number. If I want to protect my worksheet, usually protecting worksheet means not letting the users see part of the information, especially the formulas. For example, if we click on the formulas, we can see the content of the cell, or double click. The cell will show the contents. We can show the spreadsheet to users, but protect part of that, usually formulas. To do this, protected cells must be locked and unprotected cells must be unlocked. If we select the entire worksheet, right click, select format cells, we can see that the entire worksheet is always locked. So uncheck that and click OK. Now all cells are unlocked. We go back and select all those cells we want to protect. Right click, format cells, and locked. Click OK. Now only these cells we want to protect are locked. Then we go to Review tab, Protect Sheet, and here we have options. Select unlocked cells and locked cells. We can remove the check from locked cells so that the users cannot select locked cells, but they can select unlocked cells. Enter a password that you will remember. Excel asks for the password one more time. If I click on any of these cells, I cannot even select them, so I don't know what's behind these numbers. But I can select other cells. I can change the input of these formulas. For example, if I click on 98 and change it to 58, you can see the results will change. Changing back to 98. There's a change in outcome, but we can't see the formulas.